time, I would like to invite up to the stage someone that is not at all a stranger to WITA. He's actually quite very much a leader on international trade. He's one of our trade champions, I would say. Recently, he's taken over the chairmanship of the House Ways and Means Committee. He's received awards from WITA before, and many of you know him and have worked directly with him. He has been steadfast in his support of international trade. He's one of our biggest advocates on the Hill, and I'd like to welcome up Chairman Brady.
Nicole, thank you. Nicole, thanks for the introduction. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that it was you who introduced me. Man. Look, I appreciate the selfie that Steve took. Ellen DeGeneres, her goal was to break the internet, and I'm thinking, unless the internet is teetering on the brink, and 24 more views are going to send it crashing, I think it's going to survive the night. I mean, I'm just guessing. And I just recently went to my 40th reunion or so, a high school reunion. So we're looking at our yearbooks. You know, who can't not do that? And I actually had a picture of me at prom, and it was in my white tuxedo jacket, a blue ruffled shirt, and a huge bow tie the size of a Volvo that looked just like this curtain behind me. Yeah, the reason I can't tell you what was in the rest of the photo is because my hair was covering my eyes. No, seriously. Yeah, I was burdened with that back then. So I want to thanks to WITA, thanks to the foundation. Thank you to all the people in this room who are working so hard to highlight the importance of trade and what it really means to our country and to our families. My thinking is, like the term free speech, the term free trade doesn't refer to its cost. It means the freedom to trade. In America, it's our freedom to buy and sell and compete anywhere in the world with as little government interference as possible. And this is important. Secretary Pritzker talked about this. But it's important to everyday Americans because this economic freedom lies at the heart of our free enterprise system. It's a marvelous free enterprise system that creates jobs and prosperity. Free trade, though, isn't about China or Mexico or Britain. It's about America and guaranteeing Americans their economic freedom. This is protecting our freedom against those who would tell you what smartphone you can buy, what car you can drive, what groceries you can choose, and at what price. The freedom to trade is a freedom against Washington dictating where your business can sell, its legal products, and how much you can charge. This is ultimately freedom against Washington knows best. Even more importantly, for everyday Americans, the economic freedom to trade answers a key question. Who has the power? Who has the power to dictate what you can buy and sell, where, and at what price? Is the answer Washington, special interests, industry, or even unions? Or is it you, the American consumers? The beauty of free trade is that it insists that power lies with American consumers. And if you think about it, the freedom to trade is the most anti-establishment power Americans enjoy. Because daily, it tells politicians and special interests to take a hike. That we, the American consumer, will buy what's good for our family and buy what's good for our business at the price we choose to afford. And guarantees that when a new product is designed, a better service unveiled, or a new breakthrough technology is legally produced, that special interests can't hold you back from selling it, from buying it, or even disrupting whole industries because you invented a better way. And the freedom to trade tells our foreign competitors they can't just sell one way in America and block our selling two-way into their country. And when that happens, believe me, America wins. So given all that, and given what's at stake, we can't afford to limit our freedom to trade, and nothing will weaken America faster or strengthen our competitors more than rolling back the economic freedom to trade. Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I feel better, having said it. So, given all that, it's vital to have strong defenders of freedom to trade on both sides of the aisle in Congress. That's what makes this evening, I think, so important in the work you do throughout the year. I'm humbled this evening to have the opportunity to present WITA's Congressional Leadership Award to two of the most steadfast leaders on trade in Congress, U.S. Congressman Earl Blumenauer and Dave Riker. Yeah. There's a famous observation about trade, you can recite it by memory, that it's like riding a bicycle. If you're not pedaling, if you're not going forward, the bicycle falls over. So it's only fitting that our first honoree tonight, Earl Blumenauer, wears one of those bicycle pins on his lapel every day. Now we all know why it's there. Earl may tell people it's because he's the head of the Congressional Bike Caucus, but we all know the truth. It's to show he is a strong and courageous supporter of trade done right. Earl has been a tireless champion of free trade and tough enforcement, always standing strong for his beliefs and for the people of his Portland area district. I've seen this firsthand on the Ways and Means Committee, but you can always count on Earl to bring a thoughtful and comprehensive perspective to the trade discussion and a dedication to getting the details right. Because when it comes to ensuring that trade agreements truly benefit our nation, our communities, and our workers, the details matter, and they matter a lot. In Earl's Portland area district, trade matters a lot. Trade flows through the Port of Portland, support countless jobs, not only in Oregon, but throughout America. Located in the area are major companies representing nearly every major economic sector in the United States, from Nike and Adidas to agriculture and auto manufacturers, with fine Oregon wines in between. Trade is a major driver of growth and development in his home state. Earl recognizes that trade is not only a vital tool to promote economic development, but also advance U.S. interests and improve labor and environmental standards throughout the world. When TPA was before Congress last summer, Earl was one of the most courageous and most vocal champions, pushing for the inclusion of clear negotiating objectives on labor and environmental responsibility and insisting on strong enforcement fully funded by Congress going forward. Earl's support of TPA was critical to helping us get the details right and the bill to the President's desk. We can all thank him for that. In many ways, Earl Blumenauer's approach and stance on trade clearly demonstrates that we can work together, regardless of political affiliation. Trade brings us together. And though Earl and I may have a few disagreements on policy, I can't tell you how much I respect this gentleman for his views, for his approach. Like everyone in this room, I know he cares deeply about our country and about assuring that our trade policies benefit Americans here at home and advance American leadership throughout the world. He's a tireless champion of trade, and even when the hills before us on trade are steep, you can always count on him to stay on that trade bicycle and keep pedaling and pedaling and pedaling. With that, it's an incredible privilege to present this award to Congressman Earl Blumenauer. Right here, Earl. I'll get my stuff out of the way. Oh, I guess they want one picture.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for your kind words. Please know how much I appreciate our partnership on the Ways and Means Committee over the years, especially as in these strange times, you're charting a path forward, and you do so with tenacity, but warmth, and I value our friendship. I'm also pleased to be here tonight with my fellow Northwesterner, Congressman Reichert. We've had a chance to partner on a few things that matter to the great Northwest, and it's a pleasure to be here with you and to reflect on some of these challenges that we've faced together. I want to thank you all for this amazing recognition. As a Hillary Clinton superdelegate from Portlandia, whose district was carried by Bernie Sanders, having you acknowledge my trade leadership makes me think of that famous story that Abraham Lincoln told about a man who was tarred and feathered and ridden out of town on a rail, who explained, "But for the honor, I would have just as soon walked." I do value the recognition. Those of you who've been in my office are aware that I have probably won more awards from obscure organizations you've never heard of. Pollinators, anybody? My daughter last weekend saw my calendar and noticed that there was an award ceremony. She thought it was another one of my marijuana events. Well, I am proud to add you to the list. And we do need you, so I hope this doesn't drive you into obscurity. We do gather this evening at a time when trade is at a crossroads. And I deeply appreciated and identified with the remarks from the Secretary. We have never been more connected globally, more interdependent, but sadly, forces driving us apart. Now, there's no doubt that we're going to be shown a great deal through the sorting out that is taking place with the Brexit exit. They're finding very quickly that those connections and trade agreements are critically important, and it's going to be fascinating when they look at what price they're going to have to pay one way or another. And we don't just have the pending TPP. We've got in the background the TTIP. There's DOA business. There's a trade and services agreement. We got to get the miscellaneous tariff process unstuck. I mean, shouldn't this be low-hanging fruit? And in the midst of all this serious work we have going forward, who knows, we may have a free trade agreement with the United States, Scotland, Canada, and England. Mr. Chairman, since I've come to Congress, I have worked hard to try and find common ground on trade issues that are important not just to my community in terms of the economics, but in terms of that global partnership. I found that the people I represent in Oregon, including, and I would say, in fact, especially the business leadership of all sizes, support policies that build consensus. They favor stronger labor and environmental standards. They welcome greater transparency and accountability. Now, we're at this crossroads, notwithstanding some real progress that we've made with the refinement of trade policy. Because, sadly, I think we're at the crossroads because we've allowed trade to become a proxy for people's general economic insecurity. People get upset about the 70-year decline in manufacturing jobs. But the hard fact is, we produce more in manufacturing today with fewer people. 87,000 American workers produce more steel in the United States today than almost 400,000 workers produced in 1980. And today's manufacturing has fewer workers on the traditional production line. And you have more people in sophisticated positions that require greater training, expertise, and education. And they're better paying jobs. Some of you may have heard he who won't be named bellowing in Pittsburgh about the loss of 5,500 steel jobs, a decline that had begun far before 1990, the date that he chose, and failed to mention that there were 60,000 healthcare jobs created during the same period. Unfortunately, we know that those job skills that most of those steel workers had who lost their jobs were not easily transferable into healthcare. I think all of us here, as we go forward, have a responsibility to Chairman Reichert and Chairman Brady to help deal with the lack of information and the general unease. We create about 5 million jobs every 3 months in this country. And we lose almost 5 million jobs every 3 months. There's a dynamic here at work, and only a small portion of that dynamic is directly related to trade. We've got to get the word out. And not only do we need to share the word, we need to do a better job of doing what the Secretary talked about in sharing the benefits of trade. We know that a typical American's $10,000 ahead because of what they can access purchasing power through trade. But most people don't understand and appreciate it. And we know that people don't feel the same way about that general benefit as they do about seeing a specific job loss or a factory close. I hope that we can work together to do more for workers than the current inadequate trade adjustment assistance program. And we need to provide help to any American who loses his or her job through no fault of their own. Not just through trade, but through technology, through changing markets, to having jobs shifted, not overseas, but to South Carolina and Tennessee. These people deserve our help, and we need them. We must all be committed to create jobs that are easier for the traditional worker who's displaced to be able to access. I suspect, I saw my friend Dante from UPS here, one of the transportation mavens. I suspect most of you agree with Dante and me that the United States ought to just get on the stick and raise the gas tax for the first time in 23 years and put millions of Americans to work at family wage jobs that are very easily transferable from the shop floor. And by the way, that transportation infrastructure will strengthen our posture in international trade and getting goods to market. I hope that we take the time to deal with the transparency and turmoil to help people understand the power of global agreements, like we're going to be seeing in the United Kingdom in the months ahead. These agreements are a way to protect the world. International agreements are the only way to protect strip mining of the oceans, devastating deforestation, and dangerous carbon pollution. It requires negotiation and international agreement. Prattling on a little bit too long here, but I am pleased with what we have seen with some of the movement since TPA passed. I think there's been some real progress on investor state provisions, pharmaceuticals, environmental protections. These are areas that we've made progress broadening the appeal. That makes it easier for a Democrat like me to support it, and the other 27 of us that walk the plank. But these provisions that have been carefully negotiated, and I see some of our friends from USTR here, it's hard work, but I think the agreement that they have fashioned, taking those concerns to heart, are going to not only keep the coalition together, but it'll make it easier to keep others from falling off the wagon in both parties. I hope that we do not make the TPP agreement more narrow and partisan. It will be an unfortunate step backwards. And finally, we need to make sure that people understand this is a way to bring people together, to enhance global security. People more prosperous in Vietnam are a terrific counterweight to China. Boeing, we want you, some of us want you to create 100,000 jobs over the next 10 years as we try and make sure that this historic agreement can be built upon and promote peace and understanding, not just in terms of nuclear weapons, but throughout the Middle East, and tighten those bonds in a way that trade can do. We must use the platform provided by trade to address long-neglected areas of equity and employment, harnessing the power of the global movement. That's how we get beyond the cartoon trade agreements that we hear during this campaign season. I'm convinced that if we build on a true, thoughtful, bipartisan foundation, we will make America stronger, we will make the world safer, and all our families will be more economically secure. I look forward to continuing those efforts together. Thank you very much.